Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for making it here today for this presentation of IT Career Pathways. My name is Eduardo Novoa, and I am the Technical Training and Development Coordinator here at the Ignite Hub, and I will be conducting this session today. So thanks again for all the hosts that are joining here as in person, and also for our for our guests, joining us via Zoom. If anybody in Zoom has any questions or comments, please use the chat. We are monitoring the chat, so that's how you can communicate with me. Appreciate your patience. A couple of things, so everybody knows this presentation is being recorded and it will be uploaded to the Ignite Hub's YouTube channel within 48 hours. Also, everybody that registered, regardless of if they attended or not, will receive an email with the link to the recording, as well as a copy of the presentation. All right, my apologies, trying to do a couple of things here at the same time. So anyways, let's start with the presentation. Today is IT Career Pathways General Overview. And so this is a part one of a three-part series. So today we're going to be talking about general overview of IT career pathways. Next Wednesday, we are going to be talking about careers in support, networking, and cybersecurity. And the following Wednesday, we'll be talking about careers in data, cloud, and web/app development. You can attend all three sessions. I recommend that you do so if you have the opportunity, if you have the chance, the time. Otherwise, you can attend any of the sessions, depending on what your interest is. So today, we're going to be covering basically very superficially all these other areas that will be covered a little bit more in depth in the next two sessions. Okay. So objectives. This is what we're trying to cover today. Okay. So we're going to define information technology and why choose a career in information technology. Then we're going to address the trends, the impact of artificial intelligence and machine learning, and potential barriers into getting into the field of information technology. Then this is what's going to take the most time. We're going to define the general career paths within IT, and then we're going to discuss training, IT certifications, and other helpful resources. Again, today is mostly, we're going to try to go a little bit more general. The next 2 weeks, we are going to drill a little bit deeper into each one of these 6 areas, all right? If you have any questions at any time or any comments, let me know. And then it's a lot of information, to be honest with you. We're going to have a small break in the middle of the presentation. It takes about 2 hours, all right? So everybody good? All right. So first of all, about me, why am I here? Why you have to listen to me? So again, my name is Eduardo Novoa. My current role, I am the Technical Training and Development Coordinator here at the Ignite Hub, but I've been in the IT industry for over 20 years. And those 20 years, I have done a little bit of everything. I actually started doing repairing computers, building and repairing computers when that was still a thing. And then I've done support, I've done system administration, then I specialize in cybersecurity. And now I have switched and pivoted a little bit more into the instruction side. I hold a bachelor's degree in technical management with a concentration in business information systems, Master's of Science in Cybersecurity, and I currently hold the CISSP certification. Apologies. We're going to be talking a little bit more about that particular certification next week when we cover careers in cybersecurity. It is what is considered an advanced certification that has some prerequisites. So again, we'll talk a little bit more about when we hit certifications, but that's me. Now, I will like for you to tell me a little bit, first of all, your name, your current occupation, and what you expect to get out of this workshop. So if you take out your phone and there's that QR code, if you can take a minute, that'll be really great. And then we are going to, and for the people online too, they can do the same thing. We're going to switch to that right now. And let me start a presentation so you can get to the correct slide. Apologies. Sorry, this one's been giving me some problems tonight. All right. Oh, before that, I need to do something. I need to share. There we go. Yay. All right. So yes, please start telling us this information if you can. And we'll take a couple of minutes to see. So it is important because I think it's, I want to know what your expectations are. Okay. All right. Let's see. All right. Let's see the responses. Okay. All right. Let's just give it a 1 more minute. All right. Thank you. So, see, Hamilton, I am a business coach, no expectations. Great. Thank you for sharing that. Genesis is a case manager of identity. Oh, okay. We've worked with identity here before. Very familiar with your organization. I expect to get some more information about IT since the career I want to pursue. Great. Hopefully, that's what we're trying to do here. So thank you for that comment, Genesis. I think that that's what we're trying to cover in this presentation and the next two presentations. We're just trying to give general information or a point to start for a lot of people that is either trying to get into the field of IT or switch to a career in IT, because there's so much information about that. So we're just trying to get some of that. So great. So Techalin, its current occupation is parking attendant. I learned how to grow in the IT industry. That's great. David, work at the White House. I'm interested in supporting my wife to get into IT. Oh, that's great. Again, I hope that with the presentation and the recording, you can share with her. Maki, a student at Montgomery College and an audio tech at church. Okay. More information, the best occupation for your skill set. Oh, that's very good. All right. Yeah, we're definitely going to be talking about hard and soft skills. So very good. Steam, sorry. Seeking employment and actively exploring opportunities in the IT field. Hope to strengthen technical skills. Okay, great. Gus, okay, having trouble landing interviews. I would like to receive information about certifications. Okay, so we're going to be covering that. But also in your case, Gus, I think that we have other help here as well. We have career workshops and career coaching. We're going to be talking about that towards the end of the presentation. So there's some information that may be able to help you. And we have another guest currently working an entry-level job in networking and would like to improve to get your, oh, okay. Ooh, AI. We are definitely going to be talking about that. Thank you so much to everybody that responded to this. And okay, that is great. Okay, so let's go back. I really appreciate your input. All right, excellent. So first of all, let's go back. Let's go into our objectives. Let's define information technology. What is information technology, right? We just revised this presentation. Been doing this for, I've been here at the Hub for this almost 3 years. And we started doing these IT career pathway presentations basically about 2.5 years ago. And at the beginning, I was trying to make a differentiation between what is IT versus computer science. But I think that, we refresh this presentation, we refresh the content, and I think that it's more important to define what IT is. If you're here, you're interested in IT, you're not interested in computer science. Obviously, there's a big overlap between those two. They're very related, but they're two different fields. So what is information technology? Basically, information technology And this, again, is very high level. It sounds like there's not much to it, but there's a ton, honestly, behind every single one of these statements. So first of all, focuses on endpoints, and I'm going to define what an endpoint is: networks and databases, okay? So store, protect, process, transmit, and retrieve data, okay? And ensure things run smoothly, okay? Sounds simple. Okay, let's go back to focuses on endpoints. Again, in the past, we used to refer to these on computers, okay? But that's not accurate anymore because an endpoint is anything that you use to access a network or the internet. So that could be a laptop, it could be a computer, it could be a tablet, it could be a phone. So talking about computers is not encompassing. So an endpoint is anything that you use to access information, either into your internal network, the internet, and that's also very important because now with these endpoints, not necessarily tied to a desk or wired to a network cable, that means that they can connect from anywhere in the world. So now your perimeter, which used to be very defined, now it's all over the world. Your perimeter starts and ends where your farthest or nearest endpoint is, all right? Networks, well, networks is where the magic happens, and we're gonna be talking about that because that is invisible. For most users, they don't ever know about networks until they fail. But that is basically the backbone of everything that we do. Networks, and how all that information traverses those networks. Databases, we're just talking about data in general. And data is in reality what is the most valuable asset for any organization. After their intellectual property, their data is the most valuable asset that it needs to be protected and it needs to be secured. So goes into the second: store, protect, process, transmit, and retrieve data. So that data needs to be stored, needs to be backed up, needs to be protected, needs to be make sure that it's not stolen, compromised, changed, and that is also accessible to the right people at the right times, okay? So again, sounds simple, but there's a ton behind it. And again, the last one ensures that things run smoothly. Easier said than done. There's a lot of work that goes behind it. And again, if your clients don't ever, need to talk to you, that you're doing your job, basically. It should be transparent to them. But that's basically what information technology does. So now we're going to start a little bit into why information technology? Why a career in information technology, right? Obviously, all of you are here because you're either curious, you want more information. Some of you are already into the field, you're trying to grow more into the field. So why? A lot of people, especially for young people, they get recommendations from teachers, from parents, from other family members. Get into IT. Get into IT. Why? First of all, there's a multitude of career options, and that's what we're going to try to start exploring a little bit in the next sessions. Okay, so there's a ton of different things that you can do in IT, and these jobs actually keep on growing as the technology advances and changes. Some jobs are left behind, but then some other opportunities are born with new technologies. So there's a ton of things that you can do. Okay, so high demand, that is the other thing, and we're going to go a little bit deeper into the demand piece and why is careers in information technology are in high demand. Competitive salaries, and that's the number one reason why people is trying to get into IT is like, they pay good money. For the most part, yes. If you can get into IT and at the beginning, you will not make a ton of money. I'm just going to go straight up. But in a mid-career in IT is usually well remunerated and compared to other fields actually makes a lot more than for people that is required to have either more education, more qualifications, or other skill sets. So the other thing is like there's opportunities for in-person, remote, and hybrid work. And that is very attractive for a lot of people. There are certain careers that there's no no way that they can do this remotely, right? So they can only perform their duties either in a hybrid environment or in person only. Uh, Going back 4 years when we had the pandemic, I remember I was working here at the college on a Friday, and then over the weekend they decided that the college was going to be closed and go into full remote operations on Monday. I was able to do 90+% of my job remotely and in a very quick turnaround. And I stayed doing my job remotely for like 6 months, honestly. So that's right now I work a hybrid schedule. I work 4 days in person, 1 day from home, but that's the flexibility. There are some jobs in IT that they can be done 100% remotely. Some are in person only, some are hybrid, and so again, that's something that is very interesting to a lot of people. The next one is not only important, but I think I will have to say that is a prerequisite that if you're trying to get into IT, if you don't like innovation and continuous learning, maybe you should look into other fields. Why is that? This technology, as I don't need to tell anybody here, that technology changes super fast, okay? And if you are not really, if you don't keep up, you will become a dinosaur really easily. I mean, and I'm talking technologies from 5 years are considered, some of them, nobody uses them anymore. So you need to be the kind of person that likes innovation, that likes also, that's a self-learner. And we're going to talk a little bit more about that. And last but not least, this is why a lot of people is also taking a lot of interest in IT. It's because of the intersectionality of technology and other fields. What does that mean? In up until recently, I think that the IT jobs were very well defined. Most companies had like an IT department, right? But now those lines are starting to blur. Why? Because you don't have to work in IT to perform IT tasks these days. As a matter of fact, everybody in their jobs these days, I don't care what you do, you're going to have to perform some level of things that it was only reserved to IT a few years ago. So that's where things are starting to get interesting. Okay, so what industries employ IT workers? Everyone, everybody. I'm not going to bother reading, and actually, this is just so everybody can understand that everybody uses IT workers. You cannot have a government, you cannot have a school, you cannot have hospitals, you cannot have transportation, you cannot have public services without IT these days, which is good and bad because now we are so dependent in the technology that that's where that a lot of opportunities is coming from because everybody needs IT. I always use this example that 20 years ago, maybe a small business, a mom and pop shop, I don't know, maybe like a little record store or something like that, they were probably thinking, oh, they have maybe a computer just so they can do inventory. They were maybe thinking we should get an email account. But now you cannot have even a lemonade stand without having, the ability to get onto social media. To email is actually becoming something of the past. You need to advertise your business. You need to be able to take electronic payments, and you need to protect all that. So everybody needs IT now. So every industry, and this is why everybody is hiring in IT one way or the other. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about current and future trends. Okay, and these four trends is what is kind of driving the industry right now. But then again, some of them are starting to become less relevant and others more relevant. So cloud computing, and this has been happening for the past 10 years or so, that more and more people and organizations rather are starting to use, not only use or rely on cloud providers, but to use multiple cloud providers. Still, the two biggest cloud providers are Amazon Web Services, AWS, and obviously Microsoft now with Azure. But most organizations cannot have only one. So they need to have multiple cloud providers, and you need to juggle all that. So there's a big need for people that understand and then can set up these things for organizations. Data protection and security, that is your cybersecurity. Again, this is a trend that has been happening for the past 10, 15 years, and this is why cyber still a very hot career, and a lot of people is recommending people to get into cyber, which is great. There's a big need for cyber workers, but this is where it gets a little complicated. There's a need for cyber workers, and there's a ton of people looking for jobs in cyber. But even to get an entry-level job in cyber, you need to have a very high skill set and knowledge. And we'll talk about that. Data analytics is another one of those vectors that is really driving this industry, because we are now producing more data on a daily basis than, every day we produce more and more data, and I'm sure that every day we beat the last day as the number of data that we are producing. Now, is all that data valuable? No, most of it is actually trash, but you need to go through that whole pile to find the good data, organize it, and turn it into information and intelligence. That is done through data analytics. So we have mounds and mounds of data that we need to come through. And again, data scientists and data analytics is what makes that happen. And last but not least, what has been the topic of conversation in the past few years, artificial intelligence and machine learning. Let me start by saying that, first of all, we don't have true artificial intelligence at this point. What we have is machine learning and large learning models. Artificial intelligence is kind of like the big term, the umbrella. What we have, I think that at some point in the near future, we are going to get into artificial intelligence. But there is no denying that, for better or worse, this is now in to stay. This is not a fad. This is not going away. This is something that is here to stay. And we better need to understand the capabilities, current and future capabilities. And we also need to understand how this is going to affect us, because it's starting already to affect us in a lot of different ways. So those are the four vectors that are driving this whole thing. There can be more, okay? But I think that this is basically what we have been seeing. So let's talk about that, the impact of artificial intelligence and machine learning. By the way, when you receive this presentation, as you can see, there's like sources. If you click those, it will take you to where this information was taken. And all the presentations will have links if you want to research a little bit more. But okay, so the main thing is why artificial intelligence, why it's being so impactful, why it's becoming such a big thing. Number one, what is AI good at, or machine learning right now? So machine learning or artificial intelligence at this point is usually very good at doing one thing. They are one-trick ponies, but they are very good at it. They never get tired. They don't usually make mistakes. They can work 24/7, 365. They don't require benefits. And they can do this over and over and over again. And again, at a much faster rate than humans for now. So that is the thing. AI can do individual things sometimes better than humans if they are provided with the correct information within the correct data sets and they are prompted correctly, okay? So I want to put that caveat. But that's very attractive to companies because, I can have this bot running all the time. They don't take off on Christmas. They don't take 6 days. They work at 3 in the morning. They do it a million times and they will not get tired. And, so for repetitive tasks, for menial tasks, they are very good at doing that. So automation, and that is why, IT departments can automate mundane tasks, freeing up time for IT pros to engage in strategic, high impact activities. So yes, a lot of entry-level jobs are being affected by this because now they are being replaced by AI. However, you still need people that it needs to program and to need to put together these AIs and to prompt them and teach these models. So, and at the end of the day, also how the strategy is to strategize how to use AI in the different areas of how you are going to use it. Now, the next one is interesting. The generative AI market is expected to double every other year in the next 10 years. Let's unpack that. First of all, let's talk about generative AI. So we've had, like I said, we've had forms of AI for a while now. When actually Google search is a form of AI. And again, because as a search engine, and it's very good at what it does. And that's why it just took over the market on that particular area. But I think that this thing started to become more of a trend when ChatGPT, I believe it was 2.0 or 3.0, debuted. So because at that point is when these things started generating things. Basically, you can ask him, can you write me an essay? Can you write me a song? Can you create a picture? Whatever it is. So they can generate stuff. That's when this team became what is becoming today, because now they can actually do and create. I'm not saying they're original. I'm not saying that it's best. I'm not saying that it's at level with human creation, but for most things, sometimes it's good enough. Now, I don't want to get into the whole debate of, copyright infringement and all that stuff, because yeah, there's a lot to it, but that's when this team became. So this market is expected to double every other year for the next 10 years. So in year 1 is 1, year 2 is 2, year 3 is 4, year 5 is 8. So this is going to grow geometrically, not linearly. So in 10 years, we expect that market to be huge. Okay, so doubles every year from the year before. Why is that? Because again, institutions, two things. Institutions are, number one, looking to make the best use of these technologies as they are capable right now. And two, they don't want to be left behind. This is the trend that we're seeing right now, that a lot of people is putting AI in their products, regardless if people want it or asked, or even if it's useful, is just because they don't want to be the company without AI, right? So you take that as it is. But that is the real impact of AI. Now, the other part is that with what I just said, AI, it's starting to, these agents, these agentic AIs, are layers underneath applications. So you don't see, there's no such thing as an AI unless you're using like a generative model. But for most people, the way that they're using AI is being introduced into applications that they already use. Like Microsoft is starting to put AI into Office 365. So when you're writing an email, when it starts suggesting you things and stuff like that, that's AI. Basically, it's like working underneath and trying to give you a hand. Okay. So, all right, let's go into this discussion. So what do you think are, before we go into, what do you think are the potential barriers to get into IT? So yeah, we're trying to get into IT, obviously. And what barriers have you experienced? So with that, I think I'm sorry. I think I have a QR code for that. Let me quickly check that. I believe that, oh yes. So let's go to the Mentimeter again. We'll go back and let me, all right. So there, everybody. So what do you think are the potential barriers and what barriers have you experienced? Let's take again a couple of minutes. And you can write whatever. What do you think are the biggest barriers, the biggest obstacles, the biggest frustrations to get into IT? And in your IT career, have you experienced any? What do you think? So if you can share that. Okay. AI will take over many of the used to be entry-level jobs. Correct. Thank you, guest. So yes, it's not all over the board, but yes. Unfortunately, a lot of entry-level jobs, especially, believe it or not, in cybersecurity and data, are going to be taken by AI because, those menial tasks of reviewing logs, of going through like piles of data, trying to find good, usable data. Yeah, that is something that AI can do. Fonts is the biggest barrier, but I'm kind of confused on where to start if I want a cybersecurity career. So thank you. Yes, that's the other thing that and we're gonna talk about that. Lack of funds. It's definitely a thing and a potential barrier. Um, Starting a cybersecurity career, we're definitely, again, that's my kind of my my thing, and we're going to be talking a little bit today, and definitely a lot more next week. Oversaturation in the field and high competition. That is also true. It is starting to happen. So there are some fields, some areas of IT where, you know, unfortunately, cyber is one of them, and we're going to discuss. I'm not discouraging anybody to go into cyber. We need cyber people, definitely, but it's a little hard to get in. And when we get over there, we're going to talk the reasons why. Can get hired. That is so true. Don't have the education. Don't already have the experience. Okay, that is huge. That is huge in the field. Don't have certifications. Don't understand it. Lack of money. Huge. Very, very good. Let's talk a little bit about the lack of experience, because that is basically the biggest barrier to get into IT. There's a lot of people that get the education, that go 4 years, 2 years to college, they get a degree, and they think that just coming out of that is just automatically going to be, have a job waiting for them. Maybe 10 years ago, maybe in certain areas. Right now, no. If you go to any hiring board, what you're going to see is like people want some kind of education, certification sometimes, and experience, and not just 1 year of experience. Some they're asking 3, 5, 10 years of experience. I'm like, how can I get this? I just got out of school. How am I going to get the experience? So we're going to talk a little bit about that, but that is so access to education is huge as well. Financial constraints, geographic limitations, that is huge. We are so blessed in this area that we have a lot of different choices that we can for instruction, for education, but there are other areas in the country that are a lot more rural, that maybe you'll have to drive 45 minutes to the nearest place where you can get your education. That is very, very true. The barriers are being given the opportunity to share your experiences and knowledge without being judged, communication and collaboration with others. That is huge. We are going to be talking a lot about this in the next 3 Wednesdays, specifically about the soft skills. And as I mentioned earlier, I'm lost which path to go. This is a barrier for me. It is. It is. Thank you so much for all those answers. They are very good answers. And as you are going to see, that's exactly pretty much what I have written. So it is, let's go here. Exactly everything that you guys mentioned, everything that you mentioned. I don't think that there you missed anything. Lack of access, funds, or maybe the time for education, because that is huge. A lot of people that is trying to get into the field are adults with families, with other full-time jobs. So when do I find the time for the education, right? Or the training? We talked about that. It's just lack of experience. We talked about that, or certifications, or education, or even the confidence. Somebody also mentioned that. So you guys are right on the money. Okay, a skills gap, hard and soft skills. Um, I can say that a lot of, well, not a lot, but some people choose to get into IT because they think I'm going to be working with machines and not people. That's not the case anymore. IT is no IT is nowadays a business function. We talked about that you cannot have any kind of business without IT. So now is a business function, just like payroll, like human resources, like procurement is a business function. So what that means you need to talk to people. You need to talk to other departments. You're going to have clients, you're going to have bosses, you're going to have people. It's just those soft skills are super important. And actually, they are starting to put a lot of those into the job postings because they realize, yeah, there's a ton of people out there that has a ton of like hard skills, but they cannot talk to other people, and that's what I need. Let's talk about isms, ageism, sexism, etc. So I think that there's still a thing to a degree, especially the sexism is starting to. I'm glad to say that I see a lot more women into IT now, but 20 years ago, this was a boys' club. There was like very rare to find a female in IT, but I'm glad to see that now that's starting to change. But again, ageism is a thing, maybe there's against, but that works both ways, with ageism, because some people may not like to hire older workers because they may think that they're not as productive. While in other cases, they will prefer older workers depending on what the job is because of their experience. So it works both ways. And yeah, a couple of you mentioned don't know where to start. That is a really huge barrier, believe it or not, because you try to do a search on the internet and a million things come up and it just confuses you more. You were confused before the search and then you are a lot more confused after the search. Where do I start? So we're going to try to give you a little bit of direction, hopefully. So now let's talk about the skills, because we've been talking about that. What do you think are the skills, hard and soft, that are required for a career in the IT field? And most importantly, how do you conduct an inventory of your skills? So let's talk about the first one. I think is very important. So let's go to the Mentimeter again. I think that's our next light up. Sorry, let me stop here. Forgetting that I'm having two different things here. Let's share that with everybody. And okay, so let's take a couple of minutes again, because I think that you guys are right on the money. I think that this is very good, what I'm hearing from you guys. But what do you think are the skills, both hard and soft, that are required for a career in the IT field? And if you wish, how do you think you conduct an inventory of your skills? Because that is the starting point. For all the people says, I don't know where to start. Well, that's the starting point right there. You need to conduct an inventory of your skills and compare it against the career that you want to, or the job. Let's just talk about the job. The job that you that is your goal, your immediate goal, not your long-term goal. But yeah, so you need to conduct an inventory of your skills, and I'm gonna give you a couple of suggestions there. Appreciate your input. Okay, skills inventory is a structured way to assess what you know, what you're good at, and what you need to improve. Perfect. That is a great definition. It's exactly what a skills inventory is. That is exactly what it is. But creating one, sometimes people, when you're conducting a skills inventory, you have to be very honest with yourself. And most people are actually, they judge themselves too harsh, or they don't realize that they do have that skill. We're going to talk a little bit about that. But yeah, that's exactly. Some soft skills could be adaptability and communication, perfect, while some hard skills could be programming analysis. Yes, absolutely. So I like that answer for one reason. That hard skills are there. We're going to talk about some hard skills that are like across the board. Okay. I don't care what area of IT you go into, you need to have these skills. All right. But then as you start going into specific fields, you're going to need specific hard skills, specific certifications, specific knowledge. So that's very good. That's a very good answer. Adaptability and communication, yes. Yes. Non-basic computer skills and how to use Microsoft programs. That is huge, believe it or not. Also talk with people and now how to solve problems. I love that answer. The problem solving is one of those hard skills that you need across the board. I don't care what you do in IT. Troubleshooting and problem solving is one of those. And Microsoft, I'm glad that you mentioned that, because if you are going to be working in support, I'm telling you, you need to know your Windows and you need to know your Microsoft Office applications. Most of the calls that you're going to get is going to be like, I'm trying to do this in this spreadsheet, I don't know how. Or this is doing this, I don't want it to do it. How can I? So yes, you need to be basically a power user, both Windows and Microsoft products, yes. Good oral and written communication skills, financial management skills, yes, believe it or not, yes. Procurement and contracting knowledge, good at Office Suite and software, yes, we talked about that. Leadership skills, huge. Bilingual, yeah, very, very good. Leadership skills, we're going to talk about that, because the real money in IT, believe it or not, is when you get into management. And that's where, yeah, it's anywhere. Depends on the industry. I might require looking at specific knowledge required for what company, agency, government, environment. Very good. We talked about that. Communication, strategic planning, yes. Customer service and support, social media skills, yes. Networking basics, I love that one. Networking basics, yes. Coding HTML and Java programming, yes. If you're trying to get into development, absolutely. Languages like Python, I love Python. Python, you are trying to get into data analytics or cybersecurity, Python will serve you very well. Java, C++, JavaScript, yeah, those are all developers' languages. Yes, automation and scripting skills. I love that, because that's what Python does. Python is both a programming and a scripting language. So yes, having the right certifications and having more passion and problem-solving abilities. Beautiful, wonderful. People, you're doing absolutely amazing. Thank you so much. That was great, great answers. Let's go back to our presentation. So let's talk about this. Yes, you guys pretty much hit, these are baseline hard technical skills, all right? You already talked about this. So troubleshooting, problem solving, yes. Troubleshooting, IT is nothing but troubleshooting, okay? I don't care what you do, at the end of the day, you're just trying to solve a problem as fast as you can, and then and in a way that it doesn't come back, it's not just a patch, so very good. Hardware, yeah, somebody mentioned hardware, absolutely. I talked about the operating systems, specifically Windows. 90-something% of computers in the world are Windows. But these days also there's, some institutions that use Mac OS. We use Mac OS here at the Hub. I'm actually conducting this from Mac Mini, and yep. But most importantly, these days, a lot of business is done on phones. So iOS, Android. And let me tell you the last one, Linux. You are trying to get into networking. You're trying to get into system administration. You're trying to get into cybersecurity. You need to understand, to know Linux. Office software, you mentioned that. I already explained to you why. Office 365, everybody uses it. So, and that's going to be something that you're going to need to know. Fundamentals of networks and security. Somebody mentioned that, fundamentals of networks, and I added security. Why? So, and let's concentrate on fundamentals, because networking is huge. There's a ton of knowledge that people that work in computer networks need to have. There's a ton of stuff. But for most people, all you need is to understand how things work at a very high level. Why? Because when you're troubleshooting something, you need to understand that if the problem is not in front of you, is in the network. But the network, for those of you who are familiar with the OSI model, has 7 layers. Okay, so communication goes up and down 7 different layers. You need to understand what happens at each one of those 7 steps and where could the problem be. Because on layer 1, which is the lowest one, is the cable, is your jack. And layer 7 is your application. So you need to understand what happens between those up and down and where the problem may be. So and security. This is important because 20 years ago, not even 20 years ago, I will say like 10 years ago, actually, people were building computer systems, computer networks, computer applications, and then thinking about how secure them after they were built. That's not how we do it anymore. We build all these things thinking with security concepts in mind from the very beginning. So you need to understand what is that you need to secure, right? And other software. People mention that, and when I say other software, it's the specific softwares depending on the specific area. So very good. You guys hit every single one of those points. Let's talk about the soft skills. Yes, a couple of you mentioned communication, written and verbal. Number one soft skill that is asked in job applications, communication. And again, because believe it or not, a lot of people have problems with this, with communicating properly. And it's not that people is not smart or not capable. The problem is like there's a skill when you're trying to translate something that is very technical and trying to explain it to a non-technical audience. I'm not talking about dumbing things down. I'm talking about how you make sure that you're the person on the other end that doesn't understand all your lingo or your jargon, and we people in IT love our jargon, understands and doesn't feel like, oh my gosh, they're talking in another language. Organization skills. So in IT, most jobs in IT, you're going to have to be dealing with 5, 6, 7 fires at the same time. You need to be able to organize yourself. And what is more important? What do I need to take care of first? What can go to the end of the line? But I cannot, lose sight of that. Analysis. An analysis is a term that means I'm looking at the situation and I need to find either causes, effects, recommendations. Okay? Learning and research. We talked about that. I always said that, at the beginning, I talked about my education. First of all, I've been in the IT industry for over 20 years. Do I know everything? Of course I don't. There's a ton that I still need to learn. I learn every day. But I can say this, I am very grateful for all the education that I've gotten, but of everything that I've known and learned, I can say that probably only 60% of that has been learned in school. The rest I had to learn on my own. So being able to be a self-learner and to do your own research is super important. Somebody mentioned the interpersonal communication. There's the nonverbal, is the customer service that somebody mentioned, is the capacity of being amenable and being able to work under pressure, resolve issues, that kind of stuff. And we have that tip. Hard skills are essential to getting noticed. So those certifications, that knowledge, those degrees, but those soft skills are key to advancement in any industry. Doesn't have to be IT. It's very important. So very good, guys, very good. And we're doing good. We're going to take a break in a few minutes. Okay, so let's have this discussion. Out of what was covered in this section, what stood out for you? And what skills you currently have and which ones you need to improve or acquire? So again, what we have covered thus far, something that stood out for you. And then let's talk a little bit before we go into these, or you can start going into the QR code, but let me advance the presentation. I'm sorry. Let's talk about, because I wanted to talk about how you conduct. I said that I was going to do tell you how to conduct skills assessment, right? So let's talk about that. All right, let's go here while you respond. So this is how you conduct, and you guys were right on the money when you were talking about what is a skill assessment. So, and I was talking about how most people is actually very hard on themselves and they don't think that they have the skill set. So this is what you do. This is my recommendation. You're trying to conduct a skill assessment. Look at the job that is your goal, your goal right now, or the goal in the next year, 6 months, whatever it is, right? And then you go to like these job search sites. It could be LinkedIn, it could be Indeed, it could be any of these job sites, and start searching for that. So I'm gonna take one example. Okay, I wanna be a network engineer. Start looking at these postings in the area, okay? and start seeing the commonalities. I look at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 jobs. All of them are asking for this particular certification, for this particular skill. So you make a list. This is what they want. Now you make a list. This is what I have. Okay. And then all of us, we're going to have a lot more skills than what is in that. That's what they're looking for, that job. So start looking and say, okay, I have this. I have this. I don't have this skill set specifically in this industry. And this is where you need to be true to yourself. And a lot of people don't understand. For example, it says leadership skills. Okay, that means that, or managerial skills, supervisory skills. And you said, oh, I've never supervised anybody. Yeah, maybe you did. Maybe you did. You don't want to put that you were a shift manager at McDonald's 5 years ago. Why not? At the end of the day, doesn't matter in what industry you're managing. Managing is managing people and managing processes. You've just managed people and processes in a different industry, but those skills are what is called transferable. You can transfer what of your skill set is transferable to IT, all right? So that's what I want everybody to understand. And be honest with yourself. Now, don't despair, because if you see, oh my gosh, I'm missing half of the skills, the next question should be, how do I start acquiring these skills, right? So, all right. Let's see if we have some responses here, but that's what I was trying to get with the skill assessments. And again, I think that is something that we're going to talk a little bit towards the end. Is one of the services that we provide here at the Hub through our career workshops and our career coaching. But yes, if you want to understand a little bit more, and we specifically have transferable skills workshops. And you can also see previous recordings, or sign up for the next one, or see previous recordings at the our YouTube channel. Okay, so skills I need to improve. Some areas need to improve. Advanced programming skills, okay. Networking knowledge, okay. Cybersecurity fundamentals, very good. Hands-on experience operating systems, okay. So again, this is a great list. Now, I will give you the following advice. All of this is great to know, but do you need to know everything right now? Which one of these do you need to get you to that next job? I'm not saying don't learn any of these. I have learned a lot of these things over the years, and every single one of them has served me well. But you don't need to know everything at once, okay? So, but yeah, that's a very comprehensive list. But I will start with the networking. Okay, so Linux. Oh yes, we talked about why Linux, right? And again, you may not need to know Linux right now, but maybe in the future. So A+, yeah, that's certification. C+, that's Python, or Jumble for. Oh, I see what you mean. Okay, I have a strong oral and written. So that's great. So you do have soft skills. Again, don't get hung up on the lingo, and some of these words actually are, for somebody that is not into IT, they're like so strange. For example, why would you call an operating system Linux? Do you know the story? Does anybody knows what Linux is called Linux? So Linux was created by college students of 30 years ago or something. He took the kernel or the base of the Unix operating system, created a lighter version. His name is Linus Torvald. So it's a combination of Linus and Unix, Linux. And I have stories of how many of these words came about. Some of them are actually ridiculous. So don't get hung on the lingo. The lingo means nothing. Don't get scared by all these words. See what you need to know right now in the next 6 months, okay? So you mentioned Linux. Linux is an operating system. A+ is a certification. C+, I guess you mean C++, and Python, those are languages. And C++ is a programming language. Python, it could be either a programming language, but it's mostly used for scripting. So very good. So thank you for sharing that. Because of my current job, I have a lot of experience working under pressure and learning every day to communicate with supervisors and clients. That is huge. These skills I need to improve to understand IT language. Okay, again, let me tell you a little something. When I started here at Montgomery College, the person who hired me, he told me after he hired me, he said, you know what? During the interview process, there was another person that actually was a little bit more technical than you, but I decided to hire you because you show me that you have the capability of learn and to think on your feet. Those skills I cannot teach. The technical skills I can teach anybody. Not my words, his words. I always remember that because it goes with what you're saying. Sometimes those soft skills are very, very important and sometimes are harder to learn than hard skills. So I don't have a degree in IT. I got some certifications, Network Plus, Security Plus. That's great. Oh, okay. Okay, 900, 300. But I have a big experience in cloud as technology grows very fast. Is a degree. So that's a very good question because you already have good knowledge and then you have a couple of good certifications. So do you need a degree? We're going to talk about that when we come back. You're going to need a degree if you want to advance, not necessarily to get into an entry-level job, but to advance in your career, yes. All right. Somebody else. Yep, you have to get the skills necessary to master and use AI to integrate and help to transform how I deal with changes as enabled. Very good. Thank you so much, everybody, for, I really like this interaction. It's incredible. It's very good. Why don't I believe, I'm sorry. I think that we are getting to, okay, let's talk about potential career paths in IT. All right. And after this, I think that we're going to take a little break. So before we go into this, if you ask 10 different people in IT, how many career or areas are in IT, you're going to get 10 different answers. Some people will tell you 50, some people will tell you 25, 2, 3. Doesn't matter. It's how you chop it up, okay? In our way, and this is basically, I didn't invent this, by the way. We came with this information because, and we're going to talk about the CompTIA. CompTIA is basically how to put these categories. I added the last one, but we're going to be talking about IT support, networking, cybersecurity or security, data, software, and web development. Again, some people will put those two, but the skills are so similar between the two of them with a little bit of differentiation that we put them together in one cloud. And then last but not least, artificial intelligence and machine learning. So those are the 7 areas. And we're going to be focusing on the first 3 in the next session and the next 3 on the second session. So we are going to be talking specifically about the skills when we do the deep dive into these different areas, the certifications, okay, and job opportunities, job growth, career potentials, median salaries, and all that. But right now, we're just going to kind of talk a little bit about the common functions, okay, and some example job titles that they may be called something different, but, and again, these are just some jobs that are kind of common in this area. So IT support, common functions: listen to customer description of issues, diagnose computer problems, troubleshoot and research solutions to fix these issues, set up and repair computer workstations and other devices, install, configure hardware and software. So this area basically covers, if you have ever called the help desk, you have talked to an IT support person, okay? As a matter of fact, the help desk specialist, as you can see in the job title, is considered the entry-level job in IT, all right? A lot of people started being help desk specialists, or is also here in the industry in support. Usually you have tier 1, tier 2, and tier 3. So a help desk specialist is considered IT support tier 1 or level 1. I never did it. I did it in a different way. I came to the repairing computers and building computers and doing that stuff. I came into support at level 2. But so again, if you have ever talked to somebody in the help desk, you have talked to somebody in support. If somebody came to assign you a new laptop because at your new job or because they are replacing your laptop, you talk to a support person. Somebody came to look at the printer because something is wrong with it, you talk to a support person, all right? You had issues with your password for one of your accounts, you talk to a support person, okay? So it's huge. Believe it or not, this is if 90% of the people that you will talk to in IT is going to be IT support, all right? And this is a huge area because these is the people, these are the front lines, these are the soldiers, these are the boots on the ground. This is the people, and this is why these soft skills are so important here. Let's look a little bit about the listen to customer descriptions of issues. I don't want to get too much into it. I'll talk a little bit more next week. But think about this. That sounds like an easy thing to do. Listen to customer descriptions of issues. Not that easy. Why? Because you have to be like the triage nurse in a hospital, okay? You get two patients coming at you, all right? Both of them are complaining of chest pains. You need to start, first of all, asking the right questions and listening to their answers, okay? Because you need to realize one of these patients may just be having heartburn and they just need to sit down and I just need to give them something. The other person may be having a heart attack and I need to put them on surgery stat, right? How do you determine which one is which? It's a skill set that is not easy and it gets better as you use it more and more. The other piece about this is that you are going to be talking to people that is talking to you in plain language, even wrong language, describing a situation. The thing that goes beep, beep, what does that mean? And you need to translate that into technical language because either you need to resolve the issue yourself or you need to give it to somebody else to resolve it and you need to give them the correct description of the problem, right? So again, this is a very interesting field. A lot of opportunities. Most people start here. You don't have to. I did work in support for a number of years and I enjoyed it. I learned a lot on it. Okay, let's go to the next one, networking. And again, I think that this is that area. You may never see a network engineer, but this is the people that without them, none of this will be happening, okay? So let's talk about what they do, the people in networking. Support internal servers and network devices. We're gonna talk about that. Most important, ensure that the network is functional and secure. Easier said than done. Ensure secure transfer of data, backup network data, and optimize network performance. This is the people that, again, you don't ever see unless one of the servers is down, okay? Unless they're, and this is where some of these fields are not silos, by the way. I wanted to make sure that you understand, because for smaller companies that they don't have a dedicated cybersecurity group, their network engineering group is the one that's basically doing the security, because they are ensuring that the network is functional and secure, and they ensure the secure transfer of data, okay? A lot of people that is in cyber today came from networking because they were doing it before. They were monitoring the network. They were like, okay, the network traffic, what is happening here? Oh, this doesn't look right. What is it? Is it an attack? What is happening? Is a malfunction? So very related, all right? And again, backing up, we talked about that data and how that data is the most valuable asset that companies have, aside from intellectual property. And intellectual property is, again, at the end of the day, is data. But you need to have backups because somebody or something's going to happen to that data. It's either going to be a flood, it's either going to be like a power source, or somebody's going to either maliciously or non-intentionally delete or mess up that data, right? So we need to, okay, do I have a backup? Can I go back to at least yesterday? All right. Support internal servers and network devices. And last but not least, optimize the network performance, okay? So again, we have become so spoiled, so accustomed that we just try to go to a website and immediately before you click and in a fraction of a second, the website comes back to you. Well, it wasn't always like that. A, because networks were not that fast, but B, because the network performance wasn't there. So now we are accustomed to that and we require that. It's not just that it's nice to have, it's necessary to have. Some industries require that latency, it's minimal. For example, one of the industries that uses one of the fastest network in the world, believe it or not, it's the people that do the stock trading. Because if things happen, they are robots trying to do this, so they need to be faster than the machines. So again, some of the titles that you see there, network engineer is the kind of the marquee job here in this area. But you have network support technicians, network administrators, system engineers, system administrators. Again, I've done a little bit of this. I never was a network engineer, but I was an administrator, an SA, and I guess I was a network support technician at some point. Again, some of these are, and the other part is for smaller companies, you're going to be wearing more than one hat, okay? So, cyber, okay. I'm going to try to contain myself, and we're going to be talking a lot more next week. But common functions, as you can see, conduct vulnerability assessments, detect cyber threats, evaluate security controls, monitor network traffic. Again, that's actually a function of network engineering as well. Investigate security breaches and advise staff on safe practices. So again, sounds simple, but conducting vulnerability assessments is basically you're looking at your whole network, your whole environment, and you're trying to see where are the holes, where can I be poked, where can I be attacked, where is the weakest chain of the link, the weakest link of the chain, I'm sorry. So you need to figure out where are those, and then you need to put some security controls in place, okay, to mitigate those things. Then you need to evaluate those controls. Are they being useful? Are they too much? Are they too little? Then you're constantly detecting cyber threats. And it's not if, but when you get attacked, you need to investigate the security breach. How bad was it? How long were they here? What they took? How long will it take me to restore operations? And advise the staff on safe practices. So again, I put that whole list, and we're going to be talking a lot more next week, talking about what some of these titles do. But the one thing that I want you to take from today is like, there's a ton of things in cyber. There's a lot of different things that people can do within the cybersecurity realm, okay? Again, we're going to be talking a little bit more next week. All right, why don't we take 5-minute break? It's 7:12. Let's come back at 7:17 and resume. And then, yes, thank you so much. So I'm going to, for the time being, I'm going to stop sharing. And all right, we are back. Thank you so much. So we are, let's pick up because still have to cover some, and I'm trying to end by 8 o'clock as promised. All right, so thank you so much to everyone here. All right, so let's go back now to data, jobs in data, okay? And again, common functions. Let's talk about data mining, data analysis, data governance, statistical analysis, and predictive modeling. Let me break it down this for you, hopefully in a minute or less. So data mining, like the title suggests, is exactly like mining in the real world. Like, let's say you're mining for gold. As you know, you're mining for gold or for whatever mineral. Usually you have to take a lot of material, like half of a mountain, right? To get like probably 1 kilogram, 2 kilograms of gold or diamonds, whatever it is. Now, most of it, again, is not gold, it's not diamonds. Most of it is dirt, but you need to separate that dirt from the actual material, that what is useful, right? So raw data, and when I was talking about how much data we are producing, is just mind-boggling, the amount of data. We'll talk a little bit more about that our third session, but we produce so much data that is, again, mind-boggling. Is quantities are immense. So after you sift through that data, now you have actual good data, right? Because raw data is useless. Now you have sifted, you have now good data, but that good data doesn't do anything for you either. Again, you have to go to data analysis. Basically, you need to kind of go through with it and say, okay, what does this mean? And as you go to that phase, now that data turns into information, okay, usable information. Raw data is not good. Good data on itself is not good either. But once you do the data analysis, now you have information. That data has become information and it's something that you can work with. If you put that data into context, that information into context through a statistical or predictive modeling, now you have intelligence. Let me give you an example. So you have all this data that you have collected from your clients, right? And then you go to data analysis, you try to find which one is good, which one is garbage, doesn't. So now you have information. Now you know how many cars of this particular model you sold in the last quarter and what was the color that it was the most sought after. So once you use AI, and this is why AI is being used a lot in this particular area, both for the data mining and the predictive modeling, because once you put that into context, you can go and you put other external factors into consideration and say, oh, so that means that for the next quarter, we are predicting that we are going to sell X number of red cars in this particular model, in this particular area. And then in this one, we need to stop production. We need to ramp up production for this. You see, that's how data becomes intelligence. Let's talk about the data governance because that is important. Data governance, again, I talked about how much data we are producing, and some of that we are actually paying all these companies with our data. You know, I always say, how do you think that you get a free Google account with all these things for free? When 20 years ago, I used to pay $25 a month back then to have a 100 megabyte mailbox. And you go, oh, you're paying them with your data. That's how you're paying these people. But then again, there's the data governance piece. Is like, you know, how much of that data is yours? How much of that data is theirs? How much data they need to protect because it's your personal identifiable information. And not only like these companies that you're giving your data for free, it could be your doctor, it could be, you know, the college. Here, you give them your social security, your date of birth, your name, your last name, your address. You expect the college to protect that data, right? So that's that expectation. How long do I need to keep that data? Sometimes there's regulations, there's legal aspects to this, there's laws. So very interesting field. Data analyst being kind of like the marquee job in this area. And again, we're going to be doing a deeper dive on our third session. Let's talk about software and web development. Let's talk about, again, those common functions. Meet with clients to discuss needs. Again, there we go, those soft skills. Modify software programs or websites and design or create applications or websites and then write programming code. All right, so those, again, we're going to delve a little bit deeper about either software developer or web developer are the marquee on these. This is people that is paid well because the skill set, it's actually, you need to have a very comprehensive skill set to be one of these. But then again, there are more niche positions like a coder or a web designer. What is the difference between a web designer and a web developer? Which one makes more money? Quick question, a quick answer. The web developer makes a lot more money. Why? The web designer just is the person that designs the thing, okay? It's the architect. It's like the analog to an architect. The architect comes up with the idea of how a building is going to be, how it's going to look, what materials we're going to use, blah, blah, blah. But then the engineer comes and builds that, right? So that's the two sides of development. One is the engineering part, which is the coding. Doesn't matter if it's a website or if it's an application. The other one is the designing, okay? So there's some people that do either or, all right? So, okay, that's great. But if you can do both, that's you're a developer, and that's the people that makes the more money, okay? Cloud. We talk about why cloud is one of those areas that has a lot of growth. Let's talk about some of those common functions. So determine the needs for the cloud technologies for the client organization. So we talked about why a lot of organizations are having the need to go to more of that one cloud provider. So you need to determine what is that we need, or we need to put on the cloud, or which one will benefit from our services putting on the cloud, and which is the best option for this particular service or whatever it is that we need. Once you have determined that, you need to manage the data across multiple cloud environments. You need to make sure that it's secure, that it's accessible, maintain the network data and functions in the cloud. Again, these people rent you the apartment, but you need to maintain what is inside, right? And then you need to ensure that system security run smoothly and safely. Again, going with the analogy that you're renting an apartment, they give you a door and they give you a lock. If you leave the door open, is it the landlord's responsibility that you got robbed? You didn't close the door. You didn't lock the door. So that's your responsibility. So again, cloud architect, cloud engineer, cloud specialist being the entry-level job there. And oldie but a goodie systems engineer. That's still, a lot of companies, they don't have a cloud area, and their system engineers are the ones that are the cloud people, because they now not only deal with their own internal stuff, they also have to deal with external stuff, which is in the cloud. A bonus for you guys, artificial intelligence and machine learning. So the common functions very much, as you can see, very much as similar to the cloud. You need to determine what the organizational needs are, right? So first of all, okay, we need to jump into this bandwagon because we have to, because we need to. So, but what are we going to do? What are we trying to accomplish here? And what is the best tool, and how we are going to incorporate this tool into what area of our business? Okay, once you have determined that, which is huge, you need to manage. You need to manage these language models and the communication with those key stakeholders, maintain language model proficiency. And again, this is super interesting because these things, you need to train them. You need to train them to become better. And if you don't train them, if you don't prompt them correctly, they will spit garbage. They will hallucinate. We'll talk about that next week. They hallucinate. Or you can convince them that I saw a case of somebody convincing an AI that 2 + 2 was 5. So you can make these things do crazy things. And then you need to ensure that systems, service components, and the code run smoothly, okay? So let's look at some of those job titles, because all of these didn't exist 2-3 years ago. Prompt engineer, AI implementation specialist, language model trainers, ethical AI specialist. That is huge, and we're gonna, talk a little bit more about that, because that's one of the biggest implications about AI, the ethical use of AI, right? And for all these companies, they decide to be ethical, not because, well, I'm a little skeptic, but maybe some of them have good intentions, but I think that the main intention, the main things here is like, we don't want to get sued, right? We don't want to get, but anyways, so that's happening. So let's talk a little bit of salary statistics. And again, we are going to go a little bit deeper into each one of these careers. All right, before we go there, caveat, again, these are median salaries, okay? What does this mean? These are the jobs that we are going to be kind of looking at in the next couple of weeks, all right? So what is the median? The median denotes the value, basically, again, and this information was from Glassdoor.com. This is across the whole country, all right? And this is the other thing. You have to understand that this is the median between somebody that is just starting and that is already been in the job for a while, okay? So this is the midpoint for both what people is making. So you have to take these numbers, and depending on the area that you live, could be a little bit less, could be a little bit more. So these numbers, I think that are kind of, for this area, they are kind of realistic for these different positions for a mid-level person in these job titles. Now, when you start, are you going to be making that? Probably not. But in a couple of years, in 2 or 3 years in the job, maybe or 3 to 5 years, you'll be making that kind of money. So IT support specialist, 70, gentleman here asked me that question. Yeah, that sounds about right. Level 2, a tier 2 specialist in this area, 76 to begin. Yeah, I can definitely see that. Network administrators, 99. And these are yearly salaries. Information security analyst, 136. Data analyst, 92. I think that's a little low for this area. Web software developers, actually, the sky's the limit on these ones. I've seen some people making $300,000 on this. Cloud specialists, 127, sounds about right. Prompt engineers, 126. So interesting, right? I think that this AI bandwagon, a lot of people is going to start making some money soon. I don't know how that's going to. I have no predictions on this. Honestly, this is one of these things that I think I know where it's going, but we'll see. We'll see what happens in 5 years. But it's here to stay. That much I know. So let's go again to the discussion of what was covered in this section. What stood out for you, and what areas are you most interested? What area or areas are you most interested, and why? So let's go to the Mentimeter again. All right, and then let me move the slide. All right, so thank you. Let me. Right, so let's take a minute. Again, I would like to hear your opinions of what was covered, what was the thing that stood out for you, and what areas are you interested in, why you're interested in that particular area. And again, thank you for your input. It's very valuable. I think that it helps us all. And I don't know what this is, but okay. All right. I'm interested in being a web developer and software developer because the most demanding part. Okay, very good. Yes. And again, I think that as you saw with the salaries and all that, and we're going to cover that on our third session, it's very interesting. It's a very challenging area that has you work both sides of your brain, the creative side and also, like the more analytic side. Very interesting. The skill set is a very interesting, very wide. Networking and cybersecurity, because you keep learning and growing with the world economy. Absolutely. And I think that I like the way that you put that, networking and cybersecurity. I think that a lot of people that's trying to get into cyber, they need to understand that the difficulty that they encounter is that you need to learn a lot. And the reason being is like, how can you be a good protector if you don't know what you're protecting? So you need to have a solid knowledge of operating systems and networks, because that's what you're gonna be protecting, right? You're gonna be protecting your endpoints, you're gonna be protecting your devices, you're gonna be protecting your network. So you need to understand that. So I like that. I am interested in web development, so learning code and learning Python will be great. Yes. So web development, yes. So again, Python, it is a good language to learn in any case, but if you're looking into web development, I will look into, because Python, while it's a programming language, is not a preferred language that is used for programming. I think that you will be better served. I'm not saying don't learn Python. Python is great, but for web development, you'll be better served learning one of the variants of C and Java to start with. But yeah, Python is not a bad thing to learn. Very good. Interested in web design and development because many small businesses and nonprofits can use the help to grow. Absolutely. As a publisher, I'm interested in AI ethics. Oh, that absolutely. I was talking about that just a few minutes ago. I believe that it's right now with AI, we are like kind of in the Wild West. We are trying to figure out where the rail guards are. And this is why a lot of scientists, a lot of public personas have said that we need to stop development. I don't think that's going to happen. I think it's more important that we, as a community, come together and say, this is what we should not be doing. Instead of saying this is what should be doing, I think we need to put guardrails. But yeah, very interesting because there's a lot of different things involved in AI ethics and privacy and the consequences and copyright. And at the end of the day, what happens when one of these artificial intelligence becomes cognizant? What are we going to do? Very deep philosophical questions. Thank you so much for the info provided. Thank you. I'm interested in the network and cloud. Very related, very good. Wondering to know the specific or standard role for cloud security or is overlap. So I think that is interesting because, again, I always say that learning about networking is going to serve you in any area of IT. So if you're going to be focusing more on the cloud, you need to have that foundational knowledge in networking. Not as deep as if you will be working in cybersecurity, for example, because in cyber, you need to have a deeper knowledge. Because again, you're gonna be protecting this network. Here, you need to understand how everything works because a lot of your cloud stuff, and everything is a network. The internet is a network. The cloud is a network that is not on your network, if that makes sense. So yes, networking is going to serve you. You don't need to go very deep into networking. And cloud security is definitely a thing. Again, because you need to secure this. We were just talking about that, okay? Once you rent a tenant from AWS or Azure, they're going to say, okay, they're set it up as you want it, as you need it. But then you need to secure it. So you need to understand how to secure these environments, which is a different way than how you will secure your own network. All right, so very good point. Thank you. And thank you for your responses, guys. Honestly, you are doing amazing. So let's go back to the presentation and let's go to the next area, degrees versus certifications, okay? And so I'm gonna try to, there's a lot of information here, but I'm gonna try to cover some of the most asked questions in this area. Okay, so degrees versus certification. This question already came up. Do I need a degree? I need to have the certification. So let's see. I'm gonna give you a spoiler, and it's gonna be, it depends. It depends on what you wanna do, and then it depends on what you are trying to do in the next 1 to 3 years. And that's where you should be concentrating on, all right? So let's talk about it. So IT is a dominantly experience and skill-based industry. We've talked about that, okay? So employers want skills, hard and soft, and experience. What is experience so important for employers? And why they are not just satisfied with the knowledge? Because you come with a degree, you come with the certification, that means that you have the knowledge. You have acquired the knowledge, either the broad knowledge or the narrow knowledge. We're going to talk about this in a second. But what they want when they say experience is that you can prove that you have applied that knowledge in some way, shape, or form. Doesn't have to be paid. It doesn't have to be full-time. They prefer that it's paid and full-time. But you need to prove to them, yes, I know how to do this, and I've done this, even if it's, I did it at my home, I have this portfolio, I've been doing it, I've been messing with it on my own, I did it for my church, I did it for a nonprofit, but they want you to prove that you have applied that knowledge in some way, shape, or form, okay? So we went a little bit on a tangent there. But anyways, a degree provides a breadth of exposure to various aspects of IT as well as other areas, okay? This is what I was talking about when I said the wide versus narrow path. So when you're going into a degree, yes, you're going to have all those core classes. It doesn't matter if it's networking, cybersecurity, systems, whatever it is, okay? So, or CA. So those core classes, but they also have you take other classes, right? English and math and social sciences and sometimes even management classes. So why? They are trying to, what a degree proves is that you have knowledge to be a well-rounded employee. It doesn't prove that you have the experience. It proves that you have the knowledge. All right, now certifications show you have foundational knowledge and they are specific, not necessarily foundational, that you have a knowledge in an area that is narrow, okay? So it's more specific. A certification says you have the knowledge. You don't have a degree in networking, but you have, let's say, a certification that you know how to do networking according to Cisco. So it's a little bit more narrow. And that's why a lot of employers ask for either or both. Now, let's look at that. More than 25% of IT professionals do not have college degrees, okay? This is the U.S. Bureau of Labor and Statistics. While not require a degree can help moving up or getting into managerial positions. That's the answer to a question that we had earlier. Basically, do I need a degree? Maybe not to start in the field, but to grow into the field, absolutely, okay? So let's talk a little bit more about certifications specifically, okay? So information technology certifications are often listed as either required or preferred on job postings and career positions, okay? I think I explained the reason why. A lot of them are required because they want you, specifically for some government jobs, the certification is a requirement. Or to be a contractor for the government, for the federal government, the government says to the person making the contract, saying, you know, Booz Allen Hamilton or whatever it is, the person, we want somebody that has this particular certification, okay? So that's when it is required, or maybe because the company requires that you have that certification. Let's say, let me give you an example. It may be, again, I'm going to default to the network engineer. It may be that the company uses, Cisco, which is the biggest network equipment provider. So the company wants you, if you want to be a network engineer, to have the CCNE, the Cisco certified network engineer. Why? Because in order for you to be able to touch Cisco equipment and not break the warranty, you may need to be certified in that particular technology. Make sense? And then preferred is because, yeah, we would like them to be certified. So they require preparation and or training, passing a test, and continuing education credits in addition to fees for testing and maintenance. I'm going to go back to this and explain this. Can be vendor specific or vendor neutral, and can cover general areas within IT, or can qualify working professionals in specific skills. We talk about that. Let's go back to the vendor neutral versus vendor specific. So vendor neutral means that there are certifications like CompTIA, A+, let's think about that, or Network Plus, somebody mentioned that, or Security Plus. Those are certifications that are talking about this person has the knowledge in the networking, in security, right? In operating systems and hardware, which is A+. Is not, they're not saying this, they have knowledge in this field, in this area. A vendor specific is, for example, an AWS certification, okay, by Amazon, or the Cisco certification that I mentioned, or the Microsoft certifications. They're saying this person has the knowledge in this particular Microsoft, Amazon, Cisco product, okay? Now, let's go to the preparation, training, and all that good stuff. So this is to answer another question that we had earlier about how do you get training? So when you're trying to get a certification, there are basically, in my opinion, there are like 4 paths that you can take. Either you just go out and take the test because you already have the knowledge. I don't recommend that one. So that's one, okay? Then if you already have the knowledge, I'm going to talk about some things that you can do so you go better prepared to the test. The other thing is like you can buy the book. If you either the official book or the unofficial book, and then you can read, prepare yourself, and then you say, okay, I got it. I'm going to go take the test. Again, makes sense for some people, especially people that has the knowledge, have been working in that particular field or area, and they just want certification and say, okay, let me see what they're covering. I know this, I know this, I know this, I know. Okay, cool. It may work for some people. For most people that are trying to get a certification is because they are trying to acquire the knowledge and the certification. So how you do that? You can go to some of these technology centers, and nothing against them. I like them. I've actually gone through some of them, and then take one of these preparation courses. Okay. What I recommend for most people is go to your local community college. Doesn't have to be a Montgomery College. Most community colleges have a workforce development area, okay? So the non-credit classes, so they will be offered as non-credit classes, these preparation classes for certifications. Why one versus the other? And I'm not saying do one. I think that for people that are trying to acquire the knowledge, the community college class makes more sense for the following reason. A, is going to be cheaper for you. It's going to be in the hundreds of dollars, and it's going to be stretched out a little bit more. So you have more time to learn and to digest the information. The courses in these technical institutes are usually a little bit more expensive. It could be in the thousands of dollars, and usually they're a little shorter. They make more sense for people that is already in the industry. They're just trying to grab more information or whatever. But again, it's whatever works for you, okay? But they're a little bit more expensive and a little shorter. There's what I call the nuclear option, which I have done for a couple of certifications, which is called a boot camp. Boot camp are the most expensive ones, are the most intensive. A boot camp is usually 4 to 5 days. It's 8 hours, and they just cram all that knowledge in those 40 hours to you, just like going 100 miles an hour. I only recommend this for people that already is in the industry. They're just trying to revise the information, get some tips about the exam itself, and then take the exam right after you take the bootcamp. These are expensive. These are super intensive, and but the silver lining is sometimes that some of these bootcamps are $4,000 or $5,000. I have gone to a couple of them, and I have to say they have been paid by Montgomery College. One of the benefits that we have by working here. That's how I got my Security Plus, which I since have let expire. We're going to talk why, and then when we talk about certifications a little bit more, and why I only decided to keep one. And so anyhow, so these, but sometimes they include the voucher for the exam, which is the next step. So you are now prepared. You took one of those paths. You are now ready to take the exam. You need to make an appointment, with the testing center or whatnot. There's a fee. And the exams could have a fee anywhere from like $150 to over $1,000 for some certifications, the exam. What happens if you don't pass the exam? Do you get a second chance for free? Nope. You get a discount on the retry. And sometimes you have to wait a couple of weeks if you don't pass the exam. The good thing is, like at the end of the exam, if you don't pass it, they will let you know what areas you didn't score very well. Most of these exams are computer-based, basically are multiple options. And what they do is, unfortunately, they ask you the same question a couple of different ways to see if you respond differently. In some exams, for example, when I got my CISSP, you got 4 different choices, and basically all of them were right. It was what is the best answer. There was no wrong answer. It's just what is the best answer. Sometimes they give you scenario questions. So that's why I think that taking a preparation course pays. Okay. So now you have paid the exam. Congratulations. You are now certified, right? You will receive your certificate, et cetera, et cetera. Are you done? Is this forever? No. So after that, you are now certified. That certification usually only lasts for 3 years. So at the end of the 3 years, you have two different choices. If you want to continue keeping that certification, either A, you retake the exam, or B, during those 3 years, you accumulate CEUs, or they call it different things. But basically, these are educational credits, and you can get those in a lot of different ways. You can take a class, teach a class. I usually get my CEUs by watching webinars, and these are usually provided by the company or the institution that gives you the certification. Why? Because you have to pay a yearly fee. That yearly fee could be a maintenance fee. It could be anywhere from $50 to, like I pay for my CISSP, something like $250 per year just to maintain it. All right? Most certifications do not require any prior prerequisites, any experience, any knowledge, or anything. You pass the exam, you're certified. There are some certifications, like the CISSP, the one that I hold, that after you pass the exam, you need to prove that you have worked 5 years full-time consecutively in at least 3 of the 9 domains that CISSP covers. Okay? So some have prerequisites, most don't. So we're going to talk about, now, there's a lot of which one should I get? And I think that in this presentation, we talk a little bit about that. Yeah, we're almost getting to the end. So let me tell you this. With certifications, they need to make sense to you either right now or for the next couple of years. Like I said, I have had several certifications, and right now I have only kept the CISSP. Why? Because I need to pay maintenance fees. And why would I have a certification that is superseded by the one that I already have? Also, don't have 3, 4, 5 certifications just so you can prove to an employer that you know a lot. That actually doesn't, as an employer, if you have 5 different certifications in from different areas, you know what I would think? This person is all over the place. What are they trying to do? Be specific, be purposeful. What are you trying to do? What is this? How is this serving you right now? And how is this going to get you to what you want to be in the next 3 to 5 years? If it's not helping you, then there's a cost. As you can see, there's a cost to these things. You need to prepare, you need to study, you need to pay, you need to do these things, right? These have to benefit you. This is not just so you can put 3 letters after your name, okay? So, what is CompTIA? We are not associated with CompTIA. I have had CompTIA certifications. I have a couple of bonds to pick with them. For the most part, they're pretty good. So CompTIA is the Computer Technology Industry Association. They're a nonprofit trade association that uses professional certifications that are non-vendor specific, okay? And they are considered industry standard, okay? They are not affiliated with any specific vendor, like I said, and as a result, they are applicable across the entire industry, and they are widely recognized, okay? Some of them are, for example, the A+, the Network Plus, the Security Plus. Those are done by CompTIA. Again, they recommend that you take them in certain order. I did not. I never had the A+. I never had Network Plus. I went ahead and I got the Security Plus right off. So let's go back and out of what was covered in this section, and we are going to be talking a little bit more about specific certifications for each one of the fields on the next sessions, okay? So let's do this one, and then we're just gonna close out. Again, I'm trying to make sure that okay, all right. So again, out of what was covered in this section, what stood out for you, and what certifications are you most interested in right now? I hope that when we talked about certifications cleared up a little bit in the air as why they are important, why you should get them, why you shouldn't get it, and what it takes to get these certifications. And then we're just gonna wrap up after this with a little bit of some other helpful resources. Right. I think this is the last Menti we're going to do. All right. CompTIA is not affiliated with Microsoft. So if you pass the certifications globally acceptable and recognized, correct. That is correct. I am, to be honest, I don't know what certifications I should get. I don't know if I should get a degree or just do certifications. Again, I think that, guest, thank you for that comment. I think that what you should be looking into, and we're going to talk that in the next couple of minutes, it's you need a little bit of career coaching. You need to talk to a career coach and try to see what is the best path for you. The one thing is, like in IT, there's no linear path or a cookie cutter path, like you want to get here, do this, and this. People have come from IT from a lot of different walks of life, doing different things and to different avenues. So I believe that for you, career coaching is what you want. So we can start, creating a career path for you. And again, for the next year to 3 years. I want, I feel on the street, so my passion is to get web developer and software developer. Okay. Yes, they are very demanding jobs, and we are going to talk a little bit about what certifications and what knowledge and skill set you need for that industry in our third session. I just passed CompTIA Tech Exam Plus. Okay, wow, congratulations, the Tech Plus exam. Very good. So that actually qualifies you to start looking for entry-level jobs in support. I like the fact that certs still allow you to get employed. Yes. I want to get my certs and then get employed, but from there figure out a degree, honestly. That sounds like an excellent plan, I guess. Thank you so much. All right. I appreciate your answers. I'm going to try to cover what we have left in a couple more minutes. Okay, guys? Thank you so much. So resources. So we talk about, again, this is just an example. Here at the college, I was talking about, these are some of the classes that are offered here at the college for preparations for either to skill up, to get the knowledge. These are all non-credit classes. This is our sister organization, the ITI, or Information Technology Institute. Again, you'll receive a copy of this presentation, just an idea. Other community colleges have similar things, but these are some of the classes that we offer, okay? Then here at the Ignite Hub, I already told you guys, we have other services that may help you in your career quest. First of all, we have our guest speaker series, the Fireside Chat, and the Future of Tech Launch and Learn series. These are, again, free, open to the public. Check our calendar, check our lineup for this semester. These are guest speakers. This is people that come from the outside professionals. And the Fireside Chat, it concentrates in career paths, okay? So people that is probably already doing what you want to do, and they come to talk about how they got there and what recommendations they have. Future of Tech is about specific technologies and the application, so very interesting too. Coding and app design bootcamps for the people that is trying or thinking about trying about the web and app development or app development specifically. Check this out. We are starting them this month. They are going to be here in person at the hub. They are completely free. We still have some seats open. They are Monday through Thursday. We have these tech jobs in the DMV series. We're still trying to determine if we're doing them in the spring. We just had it in the fall very successfully. Again, talks about specifically how to land a tech job in this area, which I'm not going to sugarcoat it. Right now, the market is difficult, but some things like this give you a little bit of an edge. Our career workshops and our career coaching, please visit us at the ignitehubmc.com for other services or contact us, okay? Career coaching, I was talking about that. It's free. It's one-on-one success coaching. It's free. Anybody that is trying to get in a career in IT. So again, if you want to schedule an appointment, you will receive a copy of this presentation. And if you have any issues with trying to get an appointment, let us know. We'll get you in touch directly with our career coach. We're gonna not do that, but I'm going to ask you to do this. All right. So we have come and right at 8 o'clock. I'm going to ask you to take, and I'm sorry for imposing on you guys. I would like for you to take a minute or two to complete this survey. And the reason is because, and be very honest, was this helpful to you? How was my presentation? What would you like to see change? We really look into this, and I'm going to post it in the chat for our friends online also. There. And just take a couple of minutes. I really appreciate if you guys can do that. And let us know how we're doing, because really we take this feedback from you guys very seriously. We revamped this series from like last season. And we would like to know what you think about them. You know, was it good? Was it useful? Was it not useful? What would you like to see more? I will also encourage you that you attend the other 2 sessions. If you're interested in any of those 6 paths, you want to hear more about them. Even if you are not able to, I will still suggest that you register to attend at least online, because that way you will receive the email containing the link to the recording and the presentation. And Julio is asking, I'm considering getting certified in AWS AI practitioner. Do you think it's a good certification? As I believe AI and ML is going to be highly desirable as far as skills and experience. Yes, yes, Julio. But now, okay, so this is, you need to start with the AWS practitioner first. To be honest with you, this is a new one. I don't know if it covers both areas, but the AWS practitioner, I will start right there. Why? Because that, again, proves to an employer that you know how to do cloud according to Amazon. You know about those S3 buckets and all that good stuff, and how to set up tenants and blah, blah, blah. Now, I don't know if this certification also covers the security, because there used to be another separate certification. But if this one covers both, by all means, that I think is a great idea. Actually, I'm going to look into it. Thank you for letting me know. I know that there's the AWS, but yeah, this must be new. But yeah, by all means, looks like that this is an AWS Plus, Practitioner Plus. So yeah, absolutely. But at the very least, AWS Practitioner, absolutely, yes. And all right, so I will also, again, this is going to be on the presentation, my apologies. That's my information, okay? And again, it will be sent to all of you. If you have any questions, comments, you need to contact me. By all means, do so. I would like to thank you for spending time for our guests that are here in person and for the people that join us online. You could have been anywhere else, but you decided to be here and to spend this time with us. I know that your time is valuable, and I hope that it was worth it. These 2 hours was worth it for all of you. Let me know, and I hope to see you all next Wednesday. Otherwise, I hope that everyone has a very good night, and for our guests that hope that join us here in person, that they have a safe drive home. Thank you so much, and have a good night. Thank you so much.